accept your nomination for President of the United States.
Well, I've just returned to London from the Democratic Convention in Philadelphia, and I was struck, first of all, by how many people were talking about the British referendum on the EU and about Brexit, because you don't normally get Americans that interested in British politics. But I think they saw a parallel with some of what's going on in American politics, and certainly as somebody who's just lived through the whole Brexit phenomenon, it was very striking, and I think there are real parallels between the Trump phenomenon and the things that drove Britain to vote to leave the EU. So the first parallel that struck me is the importance of immigration, both in the US presidential election and in the Brexit referendum. In Britain, the Leave campaign made immigration very central to their pitch. Their slogan, "Take Back Control," was an appeal really to take back control of borders above all. And I think they appealed to the sense that low-cost workers from overseas were undercutting the wages and perhaps also disrupting the societies of traditional working-class communities. And I think Donald Trump is doing something very similar in the US. His most famous slogan is to build the wall, build this giant wall between Mexico and the US to prevent illegal immigration from Mexico, which he says, just as the Brexiteers said in Britain, is undermining living standards and undermining communities. The second parallel, I think, between the US presidential election and the Brexit referendum here is the role that economic insecurity, particularly amongst white working class voters, is playing. I think as people in Britain try to figure out what happened here, they're looking increasingly at the turnout, very high turnout amongst poorer workers, those workers whose real wages have been stagnating for many years and whose lives seem to become more precarious for a number of reasons, as the kind of manufacturing jobs that they used to rely on, unskilled work, has just disappeared. And Donald Trump is making an appeal to exactly the same group of American voters. He says that he's campaigning against globalism. He says that he's going to make America great again, to bring back manufacturing work, reopen steel plants, coal mines, all of that. Now, that may be unrealistic, but it's a very attractive appeal to a group of voters who feel that they've been ignored by the establishment. The third point is the gap that is opening up, I think, between elites who tend to be better educated and better off and the white working class who have suffered quite badly economically, particularly since the financial crisis. But some say in the US really for decades now they haven't really seen a rise in wages. And it was very striking at the Democratic Convention. The mood of the delegates there reminded me actually of the Remain camp in the UK over the referendum, in the sense they couldn't quite believe that the public would vote for something that they regarded as self-evidently stupid. They were very worried by the mood out there, but not really knowing how to react to it. And I think that this sense almost of class warfare growing up, which has been revealed in the UK with the way that affluent London and the South East voted much more to stay in, and the North and areas that were doing quite badly voted to leave. That is replicated in the United States, where, again, the big cities are going to vote for Hillary Clinton, everyone thinks that. But the small town and rural areas, which are not so connected to the elite and seem to be very angry at the mainstream media and with mainstream politicians, are much more likely to opt for Donald Trump.